Good evening, everybody. We have a great turnout tonight, so thanks, everybody. If you could pull out your cell phones and silence them before we get started, I appreciate it. And once that completes, if you're willing and able, if you'd stand up and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Please take your seats. Well, like I said, this is a great turnout. Well, thank everybody for coming out tonight. As always, we'd like to recognize our World War II vets, and I think we have at least 4 in the room. If you'd raise your hand. World War II vet. We have Bill, Irv, outstanding. Thank you very much for your coming out, and thanks for your service. As well as other veterans, if you'd raise your hand, please, and be recognized. Thank you very much. Wow. Outstanding. Thanks to you and for your families. All right, again, thanks for our online viewers. We've had quite a turnout of people tuning in online. In case you can't make it out for weather or anything like that, we live stream this. We're really glad that you're here, though, because it's much better in person. But if you want to go back and watch it again, or if you have friends that you found that this was interesting, pass it on to them. They can go to our YouTube channel, and you can highlight that and show it to them then. And as always, we have our helmet committee in the back of the room. So if you're willing and able to donate funds to help support this organization, to support this great mission, we'd appreciate that as well. So a little history at first. For this day in World War II history, in 1936, Hitler sent German troops into the Rhineland in violation of the Treaty of Versailles. And in 1942, the Japanese troops landed on New Guinea. And in 1945, U.S. forces crossed the Rhine River at Remagen, Germany. For our upcoming speakers, next month we have Bud Gause, who's the 7th Army in the Rainbow Division, the 42nd, on the 4th of April. And in our May program, we have Dr. Tom Hutton, who's going to talk about his book, Hitler's Maladies and Their Impact on World War II. And now for our speaker introduction. As most of you know, tonight's presenter and speaker is Mr. Walter LaSota, U.S. Marine Corps, 6th Division. He primarily served in Okinawa. Walter LaSota was born in Scranton, Pennsylvania in 1926. His father, who was Polish, immigrated to the United States back in 1906. Walter wanted to enlist in the service at 16 years old, but his father refused to sign him and give his permission slip. So he left school at 16 and worked for Kimball Glass, which made pharmaceutical glass, until he was drafted in 1944. And he decided to join the Marine Corps. His basic training was at Parris Island in April, May, June of that year, where he became a sharpshooter with his BAR, Browning automatic rifle. He then transferred to Camp Lejeune for combat training. When training was complete, he traveled by train to Camp Pendleton, California, and then took a ship to Guadalcanal. There was no escort ships during that journey, and on Guadalcanal, he became part of the 6th Marine Division, which was the only division formed outside of the United States. They were then shipped out to Okinawa on LST, a landing ship tank, but were not given any information as to where they were going at that time. And as many of you know, on April 1st, 1945, they landed on the west coast of the island, meeting little resistance. Initially, the 6th Marine Division was ordered to move north to take over that section of the island, but later, they were ordered by Admiral Nimitz to move to the south. Then they were ordered to Sugarloaf Hill and entrenched in a foxhole. Walter and a fellow Marine continued to hold off the Japanese. Walter's buddy's gun jammed, so while Walter continued to use his rifle in single fire mode, the other Marine would throw back their grenades that were thrown into their foxhole. When Walter saw 4 Japanese coming at them, he switched to automatic mode. His buddy yelled, "Duck, I missed one." And Walter remembers the shell exploding and nothing until he regained consciousness at the bottom of Sugarloaf Hill. He could not walk, and 2 Marines carried him to the first aid station. He was transferred to the 86th Field Hospital with shrapnel in his legs, back, chest, and foot, and some of that is still in his body today. He was operated on and hospitalized from May 16th to June 9th. When he was discharged from the hospital, he was sent back to his company. He never found out what happened to his fellow Marine who was in that foxhole with him. This was his first Purple Heart. Walter returned to WWII Company, but when he was the only original member who started out in Guadalcanal. While in a combat zone on the southern end of the island, the company was on patrol. The Marines were bunched so closely together that Walter signaled to them to spread out with his arms. And during that motion, a sniper shot him in his right forearm. Walter told the medic, "Just bandage it up, it's not too bad." And when the medic turned his arm over, the last nerve was severed, and Walter lost all feeling from his elbow to his hand. Sent to the 82nd Field Hospital, he was there from June 17th to July 8th, and this was his second Purple Heart. From Okinawa, he returned to Guam. From his original company of 286 men, there were only 8 members left. From Guam, he returned to San Diego and then east by train. With a 30-day leave, Walter returned to his family, and his family was not expecting him, and they received 2 letters that he was wounded. Walter returned home to find out that his sister has given away all of his clothes because she did not expect him to return. Walter mustered out of Quantico with an honorable discharge in March of 1946. He continued to live with his family and met Dorothy Nowatarski through a mutual friend. They were engaged in April and married in October of 1947. They moved to Reading, Pennsylvania, and worked in Berkshire knitting mills as an electrician, and then for ADT as a foreman for 35 years. Dorothy and Walter were also owners and operators of the Oriental Gift House and Eng's Laundry for 50 years. They enjoyed 70 years of marriage and had 4 children. One of them is with us today. 2 of us are with us today. Welcome. Walter has 6 grandchildren and 11 great-grandchildren. And on stage with him, Mr. Tyler is going to help out with this presentation. Please welcome Marine Walter LaSota.
Amen. Where do you want me to start it? Okay. First of all, I'd like to introduce Tyler Boland. He's the person that found me at the Blues one day, and I got me involved in parades and weekend to go with him. Originally, my dad was born in Poland. Then he left Poland and he came to Galveston in Texas. He married my grandmother's daughter, or I should say my grandfather's daughter. And then they were married in Conshohocken. He was a detonator in the mines in Scranton and became a U.S. citizen in 1922. Later on, he bought a farm in New York, but during the Depression, he lost the farm and didn't know what he was going to do. But my grandfather is the one that asked him to move to Conshohocken. My mother died when I was only 8 years old. My younger brother was 2. My older brother raised rabbits and chickens. In 1936, older brother was killed by a hit-and-run driver. He was 21 years old. He was drunk along the highway that the buttons on his vest were so sharp, they're like razor blades. I was raised by my dad, my older brother, my sisters, my grandparents. I tried to enlist in the Marine Corps, but my dad would not sign for me. So I left school and I worked for Kimball Glass, a pharmaceutical glass maker. I was drafted in 1943. I chose the Marine Corps. I spent basic training during April, May, and June at Paris Island. From Paris Island, I was transferred to the Naval Yard in Boston. I had to go from home to the Navy Yard at my own expense. I was reimbursed heavily. I got 3 cents a mile and $1 a meal. That's all I was allowed to use. From Boston, I went over to Squantum Air Force for security details. And then orders came from Admiral Nimitz that all Marines will be going overseas. He says, those that ain't there are coming over. So I was one of those that was going over. I went to Camp Lejeune for basic training, and from there I became a sharpshooter with a Browning automatic. From California, we were shipped to Guadalcanal. No escorts, no nothing, just an old Kaiser 8-day vessel. The 6th Marine Division was formed and trained on Guadalcanal. They were the only division that was ever made up out of the United States. From Okinawa, we were shipped to Okinawa on a landing ship tank. On April 1st, 1944, we landed on the west coast of Okinawa with not much resistance. There was a little. We secured that part of the island from which we called days. We went by days. We were at day 8 by where we were only supposed to be at day 8. We were at day 8, and it only took us 1 day to cover that because at the time we didn't have much of a distance. We were further sent to go to the northern end of the island and secure that. So we secured the whole northern island while we were north. Admiral Nimitz ordered the 6th Marine Division to go south. On our trip going south, we crossed, I don't remember the first river, but we crossed the river. The Seabees were rebuilding a bridge for us. We went up the hill a little bit, short ways, and one of the fellas, seeing his sword hanging on a door. To visualize this, there was 2 entrances this way, and the door was in the middle. And he wanted to go down. I said, you ain't going down. So I called for our flamethrower, he came out, he says, back up and get down and lay flat. And he shot a flame into it. When that mountain blew up, I thought that was the end of the world, because I never felt my body lift the drop so hard. But we never did find the sword. So my buddy was sort of thankful that we stopped him from going in there, because he would have been buried alive. From there, we were going slowly. We got down towards Naha one day, and we were sitting at along the riverbank, and I had a foxhole right in the river, and I thought, well, that's a good spot to be, until it started to rain. Well, the rain wasn't bad, but when the foxhole started getting up to my neck, that was a little bit too much water. So across the street from us, see this abandoned house, I said to my buddy and another couple, I said, oh, we go over there, we'll stay there, we can watch. They come across the river, we got just a good shot there, staying in this bad spot. So we crossed over to this house, which was a Japanese-style home with sliding doors and stuff, windows, and things like that. He had, so that wasn't too bad. The only bad feature was we didn't realize how many lice were going to eat us alive that night. That building was so bedridden, we couldn't wait to get back out under the rain. So we got it. Next morning, we got together, and we moved back, I would say, north again, north of Naha. We were up on a big slope, and that's where I started to, I lost my page.
Here, right here.
Huh?
Go to page 5.
Oh, back there. Oh, I missed that.
You're good.
Okay.
So,
Then we were entrenched, moved back, and then finally we were assigned to attack Sugarloaf Hill. Company I was the first company to start at Sugarloaf Hill. There's 286 men in the company. And we attacked Sugar Hill. We were up on top. My sidekick, I call him sidekick because he used to carry my extra ammunition, all for my Browning automatic weapon. He counted the extras that I wasn't able to lug along. And we were in a foxhole together, and he says that his rifle jammed. I said, okay. I said, just watch yourself and try to see what you can do. He was working on his rifle. He said, I finally got it open, it's working now. And then he says, he would start throwing grenades back at the Japanese. The Japanese, thank God, their grenades weren't as accurate as ours. They would go off sometimes they would, sometimes we throw them right back at them and it'd go off on them. But then my buddy hollered, duck. I missed one. And when he done that, that's when, I don't know whether it was a grenade or it was bigger than a grenade, I think. 'Cause I got hit, and I must have got thrown over and rolled down the hill. I don't know, because when I came to, I was at the base of the hill and back of the lines. And I went to get up, I couldn't get up, and then two other Marines came by. I said, what's the matter? I said, I can't get up, I can't walk. So they took me on their shoulder, and I went on their shoulders, and they got me back to the hospital. Well, I have shrapnel in my legs, in my back, in my chest. They took out some of it. Some of it is still there. They didn't bother taking it all out. So I was in the hospital. That's where I earned my first Purple Heart. Then I returned. I was in the hospital till the 8th of July, and then I was left go. So then I was returned back over. Then I went back to the company, and of course I said the company, but I didn't know about none of the people, because all my, like I say, 286 people out of the original company, only 8 of us unknowingly survived. What happened to some, whether they got so badly tore apart, or did the Japs tear them apart or bury them somewhere, we don't know. But I was fortunate. I was able to get out of that mess. So I got back. The company was moving further south, beyond Naha. And I got back there. So I said to the guys, I says, you guys cover the hill. I'm going to survey the land below. Well, the guy, I hate to say this, but dumb recruits, they think they know it all, you know. You tell them to spread, that they don't know what the word spread means. So I was going like this, with my hand over the head, and I'm telling them to scatter. I says, and then one fellow hollered at me, you better get down, that sniper cane hit you. And I said, about that time, something else, I won't repeat it. But he did get me. He hit me in the lower part of my arm, below my elbow. And I just rolled up the sleeve, and I thought, oh, that's all right. Went back to the corner, and I said, that's just a little patch on there. But when he done that, he turned my wrists. When he turned the wrist, the other vein let go, and from there on down, I was paralyzed. I couldn't use that part of the hand. That's where I got my second Purple Heart. So I spent time in the hospital there until that was over. A little story about the house that we stayed in at Naha. Although the bugs got us alive, Japanese people all had their little potties right outside their door, in a little thing where they used to take it out of there, go to their garden, and they used to use that for their fertilizer. Well, one of my guys accidentally stood on one and found out it ain't so strong, so he went up to his knees, and he didn't smell so good. But from there, after I came back from the hospital, I came back to the southern part of the island, to where General Buckner was. And I was only a few steps away from him at the time when it happened. An artillery shell we heard fire, and then General Buckner had been killed. Now, I don't know whether that was an act of God or what, but it could have been me, but it said it was him. From thereafter, we came back to Guam, and it was only 8 of our original people that survived out of the 286. There was 8 of us in the company that was left. Our captain, he made captain when we were at Okinawa. When I first seen him, he was a First Louis. And he was a down-to-earth man. And he took care of, before we got into combat, he made sure everybody got taken care of, everything that they could handle. And he used to tell us all the time, he says, now don't forget, you 8 guys are the only one left in this company outside of me. And he said, when I blow the whistle, I want to see 8 run down here in a hurry. And so if he called, you seen 8 guys, you seen dust flying. But he was a down-to-earth leader. He had 22 years in the Marine Corps. His dad was a major general in the Marine Corps. And he had 22, and he used to always tell us, don't try to pull the ears. I went through these stories too many times, you know. So I know what the story is, so you have to listen. So we were stuck at Guam. We were shipped to Guam from Okinawa to Guam. And we were assigned there. That's where we stayed. I stayed there for, I don't remember exact months. I forget what the months I got there too.
Here,
Huh?
right here.
Oh. No, that's Kutchahaka. No, I don't want that. No. Oh, just a little bit background yet on me. I went to a trade school in Philadelphia for a year. I didn't really care for becoming a machinist, but I went there anyway. And then I went to a Philadelphia School of Electricity when I came out of the service. I got engaged to my ex-wife, I should say. We were married for 70 years. First job I took, I worked at Berkshire Knitting Mills as an electrician, but I only stayed there a year. I was offered a job with ADT company, which is American District Telegraph. And I had to take a little cut in wages, but Uncle Sam sort of doctored up, made me even. And I was with ADT for 35 years. I became the city foreman. My area included everything north of Reading. Allentown, Kutztown divided me from Allentown. And I went all the way up and partway up into the coal regions because then the Scranton office took some of that. And I had a lot of moving down to the southeast, southwest corner. So I had a pretty big area to cover. I covered down to the Maryland line up to ADT took west of State College, was taken over finally by Pittsburgh, because I was getting spread out too thin. I couldn't keep up with it all. My wife and I owned and operated the Oriental Gift House and Eng's Laundry for 50 years. I got involved in the Chinese laundry, believe it or not, doing shirts and stuff and everything else. We had We had a good business and we stayed at it. We were there for 50 years before I closed up the workshop. I think that covers us all. Yep. So that about covers all my time, both in the Marine Corps, out of the Marine Corps, and I have 4 children. I got 1 daughter. I got 3 sons. I got 8 grandchildren and 11 great-grandchildren. So we got a busy family. My one son is here today with his daughter, and he's standing up. Cynthia, stand up. And the one person that's sitting by him is my daughter. Without her, I'd be lost. Without her, you wouldn't even be hearing my voice tonight, because she helped me make this speech all up. So I hope you all enjoyed what I had to say to you. I'm happy to see you all come out. I didn't expect this many people, but I think it was well for me to see everybody. I'm happy to see them. My buddy that was my sidekick, to this day, I don't know whatever happened to him. After the shell exploded and I was blown out, I don't know if he must have been killed. At least I hope he was killed. Because if the Japanese got a hold of him, they would have tortured the heck out of him. But I was 20, and he was 33 years. He had 13 years on me, yet he was my assistant because I was the Browning automatic man, and he carried about 4 extra canisters of ammunition for me. Now, each canister had 12 rounds of ammunition in it. Now, you didn't fire automatically. Normally you just single fired at anything you wanted to save ammo. The thing that happened on Okinawa was when he was having trouble with his rifle and trying to get the things out, there was 4 Japanese came up. Today I say I made a mistake. I shouldn't have went to automatic fire, but I did. And of course, I took 4 Japanese right down. And that's shortly right after that's when his shell exploded. And I don't know whatever happened to him or where he's at, but I'm sure he's not living today. He had 13 years on me. That would have put him up in the 120, so whatever happened to him, I hope, if he got killed, thank God for it, because if he would have been captured, he would have been tortured to death. So it turns out better this way. And that's about all. I came back home. They weren't expecting me home. Dad got a letter saying first the letter went out saying I was missing. Then they corrected it saying that I was wounded. Then I didn't tell them when I was coming home. I just came home on the fly. And coming home, of course, Uncle Sam's very generous with his money, you know. You don't come back into sleep, or you just stay in a regular car. But I got on there, and a conductor came over, and he says, "What are you doing up here?" I says, That's what my ticket calls for. He says, you just wait a while, I'll be back. So he came back. After he come back, he took me, put me in the sleeper compartment. I had a sleeper compartment and all the way to Harrisburg. Harrisburg, I had to change trains to go get to Reading. I went by way of Philadelphia, then from Philly to Conshohocken. But my parents and them, my dad and my sisters did not, well, of course I should say my brother, he was young yet, but my older brother was gone. We never did find out who the hit and run driver was that killed my son, or I should say son, but brother. He was driving along the highway, like I said, and he used to wear a vest, and the buttons on his vest were like razor blades. You could take them and just cut with them. But he lasted a couple weeks in the hospital, but they wanted to amputate one of his legs, and he says no. So that's how he died in the hospital. So everybody else got together. We were raised in a family. Grandpa built which is his daughter, he built the house for her. That house was built for $8,500. That was all brick and stone. Stone foundation was from the base of the quarry on up till you hit the level of the cellar. From there on, it was all brick. He built that whole house. There was an abandoned quarry alongside of this, which is all part of the deal for the land. And he built that house for $8,500. That house sold today for $300,000. Unbelievable. I would never suspect that house would have sold for that kind of money. But the quarry was open, and we only had a little walkway on one side that we could walk over, go up the alley, go to grandparents. And then they started to put the sewerage system in Conshohocken. And the contractor wanted to know if he could dump the excess dirt into the quarry. My father says, yeah, you can do it. He says, you can put all the dirt you want down there, no qualms. He said, just so it's down there. And Dad came home one day, and I told him, I says, you gotta stop. I can't, they're not backing up the truck far enough. And I says, I can't shovel that dirt down there, it's too much. So he went up there with me, and he said, in a few Polish words, and he says, right after he went there, right after the boss man, and got the boss man says to him, no more dirt. And boy, that boss man was upset. He said, what? What's the matter? And Pop says to him, you go and look for yourself. I'm not going to tell you what's the matter. You go look. So he went there, and he came back, and he was not a foreigner, but he was not an American. I think he was an Italian, and he was letting it fly. He had a driver was afraid to back the truck up. He was afraid to dump in the truck and go down the quarry. He says, he's out, don't worry. Next morning, 2 bulldozers came in. They pushed all the dirt back down in the hole. And that's how the quarry got filled up then. And then years later, we added some more soil, topsoil to it. And then I had 28 fruit trees growing on there. I had apples, cherry, plum, grapes. Well, grapes were on the vine, but the pears any fruit was hanging off of a tree was there. It was being grown by us. And we just kept growing them. And then after I got married, and Dad sold everything except the house where he lived in. He sold the properties off singly to a company, a fellow that we knew. He wasn't no relation, but those years, everybody was a relation. Say it like it was then. I mean, everybody was. You were my uncle. You were my grandfather. Oh, that's your great aunt. I don't know you, but that's okay. If that's what they say I am, I am. But he sold 3/4 of the land off, except for the house and the other part. He kept the house, and he lived there till he passed away. Of course, then my elder sister lived there for a while. Then she finally moved into an apartment because there was too much upkeep to take care of that big house. And outside of my younger brother, he was involved with, not the, who's the computer company? Computer. Microsoft. No, it's bigger than IBM. Well, he worked for IBM. He was a man that used to go out to all these Nike sites and test them and check them to make sure that they were operating correctly. And he covered just about every state in this United States working for IBM. He later went to, it's all right. Later he went to, kept moving around, finally got tired. He lived in Kentucky. Then when they wanted to ship him again, they shipped him to Florida. And while I was in Florida, they wanted to ship him up to Maine. And he says, no. He says, I have enough traveling. He says, I'm tired of traveling for you people. So he stayed in Florida the rest of his life, which is quite a few years. As a matter of fact, we just buried him about 6 months ago. He was the last of the Mohicans. But that's where he stayed in Florida. He loved Florida. Anything else was too cold for him. Even in Florida, it was too cold for him. But he had a good life, him and his wife. I guess they're married over 60-some years themselves. So we all enjoyed it. Well, thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoyed. I didn't follow the books. I sort of sucked right away or a little bit the other way. But I again thank you for coming. I appreciate you listening to me. I hope and pray that we don't hit World War III. Because if you think World War II was something, World War III is going to be just about the end of American civilization. Because it's going to be the deadliest war ever fought. It said, if everybody's seen pictures of Japan after we dropped the 8th bomb, if they seen pictures of it, that's only a small example of what that bomb done compared to what our new bomb could do. Our new bomb will kill all the people, yet not destroy no property. That's how powerful it is. You will die from suffocation or from something else, but you're not going to die from being killed by something. But you will die from the bomb. But that's why I say, hope we never get to World War III, because it's going to be, I don't care, I'm past that stage now. But a lot of you have family, youngsters, and I would not like to see that happening. Well, thank you again for staying and listening to my little sermon. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you again. Yeah.
We'll take some questions. I'll start with the first question, Tyler, and Tyler will probably have to help communicate this because the speakers all go this way, they don't go that way. Can you explain what you brought on the table up front?
I can, if you want to walk up and look at the stuff, you're welcome to look at it. I prefer if you don't.
They're asking, what did you bring? Talk to what you.
Well, I actually got the sword that attached to my old 03. I kept that because I can't put that on a Browning automatic. Now, my Browning automatic is not like you see pictures of, or you see the Army with their bipods and the high flash guides. Mine didn't have none of that on it. We call it field strip. That went to the junk pile. That ain't necessary. That weapon itself weighed 14 pounds. You take that other weapon off, you are going down to 12 pounds. And my weapon, I had taken fixed at Guadalcanal. I had the weapon there, and I went over to a Navy supply place. The guy says, "What are you looking for?" I said, "I want to know if you can add a 50 caliber machine gun handle on the forearm of this BAR. The forearm has a piece of wood there. You could hold it that way." He said, "Yeah." He said, I'll fix that up." So he come back, hand me the rifle. Here it had a nice caliber machine gun handle up here. When I swung it on my handle, I could use it just almost like a machine gun, especially if I went to automatic fire. You're going, shit, that's 20 rounds of ammunition. But he fixed that up for me, and I had that up till the first time I got hit on Okinawa. I don't know what happened to it because, like I say, I ended up at the bottom. So
talk about your uniform. Whose uniform is that?
That uniform is my uniform. And I bought that uniform in San Diego, California. It cost me $85. I come home to Conshohocken, and I could have walked up 2 blocks from my house and got the damn thing for nothing. They made my uniform. But that's where I got my uniform.
What's in the case?
The case has all kind of mementos.
Talk about the coins.
The coins are Japanese coins. Most of them are Japanese. There's one Filipino coin in there. And
And then your flag. Tell me about
the flags, the one I have was the shabbiest one was taken off of a Japanese soldier. I took it off his body. The other one I picked up, I don't remember, it was near Naha or somewhere near there, where I picked the other one up, which was a little better. But both flags have a lot of blood on them. That's why we keep them sealed in the plastic. I don't want nobody to touching 70, that I have them over 70-some years, but I don't want the people touching them anyhow.
And talk about the dog.
Oh, my dog. That dog was gotten, I don't remember, it was one of my sons or my daughter got it, I guess. Because he's a little bulldog. And the Marine Corps is a bulldog. Of course, they use the bigger ones, and they were Kursani, he's a little baby. But we liked him, so we put a hat on his head, and I keep him at home. So if there's anything else, there's some tags, shoulder pads off of Japanese uniforms. Don't remember where I got them, but there's some have a star in, which would indicate that was a first general, first degree general. There's one I think has a second or third degree general on it, and they were on their bodies. So somebody took them off, and I happened to pick them up.
So now we're going to do some.
That was a, huh?
We're going to do quick questions.
Go ahead, yeah.
Do you still have the letters that were sent home from the government that said you were wounded to your family?
Do you have the letters that were sent to your family saying you were wounded?
No, I have no idea what my. You have them, Cynthia. Are they in the book?
According to your
Well,
daughter,
they're in
they're
the
right here in the
book,
book.
then. She's responsible for everything that's there.
So like many of our
She made-
veterans, Walter did not tell his story until a few years ago, actually when he met Tyler. So his family, some of this is relatively new to them in the last few years. So it's amazing. So thank you, Tyler, for your service as well.
If you want to come up, I'll stand down there and I'll try to explain to anybody that comes to the table what's what, if I can.
We will in a couple minutes. They just have a couple.
Thank
Go
you again
ahead.
for coming. I wanted to ask, before they sent you to the Pacific, did you receive any training in preparing if you had been captured to be a prisoner of war?
So before they shipped you off, did they train you in case you became a prisoner of war?
No training for that. You weren't supposed to become a prisoner of war.
That was the training.
You know, everybody laughs, but we always in the Marine Corps, we don't believe in stepping backwards. We'll fight forward. We may take a step or two back, but that's as far as we're going to go. We draw a line. We do not retreat and go back and then try to regain ground next 3 or 4 days later. That's not the way the Marine Corps fights. The Marines fight day to day, right to right, shoulder to shoulder.
Mr. LaSota, why did you decide to join the Marine Corps as opposed to one of the other services?
Why did you join the Marines?
I picked the Marine Corps. I don't know why, but I used to always talk about Marines. And when it came that I was finally drafted, I went to the draft place, and the guy says, well, I'm only taking 8 of you guys. All the rest of the guys got outside those that took the Army. Some took the Navy. And he says, I got 8 openings only in the Marine Corps, and I got to decide which 8 I'm going to take. So he came talking to me, and I talked to him. I says, I want to be with the Marine Corps. I said, for some reason, I want it. And I said, don't put me in the Navy. Although we were part of the Navy, but I still didn't want to go in the Navy. So that's the man there says, okay, you're a Marine. That's how it happened.
We have a question over here. Is it okay? Did you ever have the opportunity to go back to Okinawa?
He wants to know
I'm going back, hopefully. I was assigned to go to Europe next month. No, in May, or June rather. I was assigned I was going to go to Europe. But my agreement with the persons was if they had a military man that served in Europe and wants to go, I'm stepping down. So I gave up my European trip to a soldier that served in Europe. I didn't serve in Europe. I knew nothing about fighting in Europe. So that's why I give up. I didn't go. But I am signed #1 position to go to Okinawa next year. So I'm hoping I can make it to be there to survive that trip. Because that's an all-day trip just to get to Okinawa from here.
Good evening, sir. I was born in Okinawa in 1972, and my dad was a young Army private first class. And him and my mother both speak very fondly of their experience in Okinawa with the local people there. And I think back to your generation and what you guys went through in Okinawa, and your sacrifice, your Marine sacrifice, wasn't in vain, because all my parents talk about was how helpful the Okinawans were to my dad. He was 19 or 20. My mother was 18 when she had me, and they always came over and helped do laundry or helped clean the house, watched me clean my diaper when I was a little baby. So my dad was also stationed in Germany, and it wasn't like that everywhere we went in Germany. There were certainly parts of Germany where they didn't like Americans being there. But they always talk about the Okinawans and how much they were very helpful and they embraced Americans. And I just think back, and I'm very thankful for all the sacrifices you Marines went through. We can never thank you enough.
He says, thank you very much for your service. He was actually born in Okinawa. He always said that Okinawans thought very highly of the Marines. So he said, thank you.
Okinawan people, a lot of them like the Marine Corps, but they probably there was also some Army people in the fighting, and the 10th Division was on there right alongside of us. But they liked us, but they hated the Japanese people. Japanese invaded Okinawa and took over the island. I don't know what year it was, but when they took over, then the Okinawans become their slave laborers. That's why there you see so many caves and tunnels that were built that on top of the hill above Naha, where we were stationed for a couple days, I was sitting actually on a Japanese field hospital. And I took it on myself to go in and see what's in there. Well, the only bad part was me going in there. I'm 6'2", and Japanese are down here low, they could run around and but I managed to look through some of it. I had no camera, so there was no way of me getting any pictures. But it actually was a Japanese hospital, blurred out in the hill. And every so often you'd walk, and then you'd see a bed, like a bedroom with 3 or 4 beds in it. You walk down on the other side, you see the same thing. So it must have been a hospital for Japanese people. We were sitting right on top of them, not realizing, until I got under there. I thought, you're dumb, son. What are you doing under here? But we got out of it.
Tell them how old you are. Huh? How old are you?
How old am I? 9'8".
As of last week.
9'8". I'm shooting for 2 more years. I want to hit 100 if I can. if the Lord gives me the strength, I'll be 100 then. I'll be only the one to live that long, which would be my grandfather. He lived to be 100. So I would love to reach his quota.
Yes, leading up to the action of Okinawa, do you have any memorable experiences with veterans that served in any of the other major battles that maybe gave you inspiration before the battle?
So he's asking, before you got to Okinawa, were there other Marines that gave you like advice from previous battles that they were in?
No. When we left Guadalcanal, we did not know where we were even going. We got aboard the LSTs that were there, and our tanks, everybody got our ships loaded, and we left Guadalcanal. We were trying to find out where we were going, and out there, they says, you'll know in a few days. And we were in the China Sea. We hit a heck of a big storm, but we went through it. And then they told us, in 2 days, you will be landing on Okinawa. They didn't, up to that time, we didn't know where we were going or what we were going to do. And we didn't know how much resistance we were going to hit. Like I say, we were at D+8 on the first day, which according to the military map, that should have been our 8th day, but we were there the first day. Of course, we didn't have that much. There was a few little skirmishes here and there, but that was no major holdup of ours.
So no advice from other Marines beforehand?
No. When you get the what we call scuttlebutt from one to another, and it's past the line. You don't do this, you don't do that, and you follow orders. And that's one of the biggest things I think I learned in the Marine Corps, is to take orders and follow orders. Don't think what you know best. You follow orders. Like I say, I got my second wounded because people weren't paying attention to me. If they would have paid attention to me, I probably would have got shot. But I'm trying to get them to scatter, and it didn't work. After that, they scattered. Then they knew what it meant to get shot.
Any other questions before we wrap up? One right here.
How did it feel to go to Okinawa?
How much?
He's asking how did it feel to know the anticipation of going to Okinawa?
So are you excited to go back to Okinawa?
Yes, I want to go back. If I'm able, I'd like to make that trip. I would like to see where Sugarloaf Hill is. That is a national or universal park now. It's blocked off and it's tapered off, and it's well preserved. Okinawa, Sugarloaf was a turning point of the war against Japan. Once we were able to break their ties, people don't realize Japanese had tunnels dug for miles. They could run back and forth across that island, and you didn't even know they were there. But Sugarloaf was one of the places where they used to come out, and finally when we broke through the Sugarloaf, that sort of pushed them back up the hill, and then we had no problem after Sugarloaf. But Sugarloaf is okay. It cost my original company roughly 280 people. Now, I don't know how many died after that, or how many disagreed, but it took 13 tries to finally break through at Sugarloaf Hill. So there was probably a lot of Marine life lost at Sugarloaf Hill. And Marines that I never knew, never met, they probably got killed there. But
Walter, did you ever, you said only 8 survived from your company. Did you ever get together with any of those members after the war or have a reunion with anybody from Okinawa?
Did you ever have a reunion with those 8 members?
No, never. Once after I got through San Diego, we were sort of split. I came east, some went south, some went to north, some stayed in California. But that was 8. Now, don't forget, that's 8 that were there. We were all wounded. Somewhere along the line, we got wounded somewhere. But out of the 286, the others we lost. We don't know how many. Maybe the government could come up and say how many were survived that were in the hospitals or something, but we could never figure out how many were in the hospital. All we knew, we got back to Guam, Company I only had 8 original people, plus our captain. So, go ahead.
Any more questions? I have 2 public service announcements. First of all, Tyler volunteers to go and take veterans to Normandy this summer. And so there's opportunity to support that cause. He goes on his own dime, right? So there's opportunity to raise some funds for you. I think we have some information outside on the table. So if you're interested in helping him out, please ask him about it, or you can talk to us about that afterwards. And also, I want to highlight, we have a second Okinawa World War II vet with us, Mr. Irv Gares right here. And I don't know if you two have actually met before. So we'll get you guys together after this and take a picture, and you guys can tell some stories, okay, together. And we're working on getting Irv on stage. We're building a presentation for him. So you can tell your story from Okinawa as well as the CB. All right, Chris, I think it's over to you.
So let me just get to the middle area here. So Walter, everyone just bear with me one second. I'm going to present the gift here as we do. You know the drill. Thank you very much for your presentation. We have a world famous round table coffee mug for you. And also Tyler got one before he was here in January. Thank you very much. It's got our logo on there. Just want to say a few more words before we're done for the evening. So, yeah, oh, good. Oh, that's great. He said he has a collection of different mugs.
Give it to my daughter.
Add one more to the collection. Very good. Well, Walter, thanks so much. You can't beat a combat story of a combat World War II veteran. So that's what we're here for. Our viewers most like to hear from the real combat guys who were there, and every opportunity we can get that. Also, Walter, thanks for your service and during the war in the Marine Corps. Also, thanks to all of our other veterans here. We have about 4 or 5 World War II veterans here tonight, so maybe we can get them all up front here to say hi to each other at the end. I want to say thanks to Cynthia for driving your father to our event. You'll drive him home tomorrow. Thanks very much. And also thanks for the other family members for being here also. Thanks, Tyler. Again, Tyler's helped us in January and also here tonight on stage to help facilitate the presentation. So we do appreciate Tyler, a young college student here helping out. Okay. Also, just to announce real quick that re-announce, Jeff did bring up front, but just as a reminder, next month, April, we have our speaker, Bud Gause, 42nd Rainbow Division, World War II, ETO. He helped liberate a concentration camp towards the end of the war and was in combat as well. He'll be here speaking for us in April. And in May, we have Dr. Tom Hutton flying all the way to us from Texas. He has an MD degree as well, speaking about the book on Hitler's maladies. Thanks, President Bill Jackson, for being our founder and first president. Thank you very much. And we wouldn't be here without you because you started it all, so thank you, thank you. Every month we have to thank you for doing that back in 2003. And also thanks to our board members, our other volunteers. We do encourage you to contribute to our cause. We have a helmet committee gentleman in the back, if you'd be so kind as to donate toward our cause. We do have expenses every month, and those must be bills must be paid as well. I just want to close the evening tonight and say thanks to all of our loyal attendees. We have new attendees every month, which I'm pleased to see. But I also enjoy seeing you veteran attendees here. Many of you I've known for years now and gotten to know you so well. So thanks for our loyal attendees and also our new attendees. Thank you, and we'll see you in April. Thank you.